Oh boy, welcome back again today, friends. Guess what we're doing? I know, we should have a party for this. We're spending the next several hours in my Mega Mama kitchen making up a mega ton of large family style big batch breakfast freezer meals. Yes, we are. And several weeks ago, you and me, we made dozens and dozens of sourdough discard bagels and sourdough English muffins, and I was able to get some of them in the freezer because I wanted, of course, to make a bunch of big batch breakfast freezer meal sandwiches with them. So I was able to squirrel away. I got 6-gallon bags here in the freezer. Looks like only 1 bag of English muffins. The rest, the other 5 bags here, are the bagels. We're also gonna add to this stack, we are going to do dozens and dozens of sourdough discard biscuits. Also make breakfast freezer meal sandwiches with that. So mega much, buckle up, let's get big batch freezer cooking. First up, actually, before we can cut our sourdough bagels to get them ready for sandwiches, we need to get several big sheet pans full of sheet pan eggs, go into the oven, and I've got a couple different ideas with that. I think I can do this. Just carry in all the eggs. And you know, be encouraged with egg prices. I know things are wild out there on those egg buying streets, but they really have been the last several years. I recently published a marathon video of my 10 years. I'm having regrets now about stacking those. About my 10 years of doing all my discount Sharp Shopper grocery hauls. And there was a big variety of egg prices. Even I like to buy those 60 count boxes at Walmart. And in one of my videos 3 years ago, I mentioned that, and the egg prices of that box was $32. Right now in my local Walmart, February 2025, that 60 count egg box is $29, and it seems like 6 weeks ago it was $18. And of course back in the day it was even less than that. So I know that there are egg pricing problems, but we shall make it through. Okay, I also need to cook that sausage, but I want to get the first batch of sheet pan eggs going. I've got my bigger batch sheet pans out again, and so just want to get going instead of not getting going. I just want an easy, if I can get an easy entry point and get myself going, we're doing pretty good. So even though I have about 6 pounds of sausage over there that I had planned to pre-cook and get going with these sheet pan eggs, right now I'm like, I just need to get these eggs a-going. I don't know if I can wait any longer. Why am I frantically trying to get this big batch cooking going? Because life and stuff and things. I have life and stuff and things, and I know you have life and stuff and things. And it's now 4:24 on my perfectly planned to-do list today, which the perfectly planned to-do list is always my favorite. I had planned to start this freezer cooking at 2, and I just know if I don't get going, it's just not happening. So I plan to go. I officially rang the gong, or we shall say, ring our egg gong. Ring our egg gong at 4. It is 4:24. I plan to go until 8 p.m. Now I used to, over the years, and I can link all of my decades of big batch freezer cooking here on YouTube in the description below. I would cook 12 to 16 hours, sometimes overnight. I put doing those projects and taking care of my family over taking care of myself. And pushing 50-year-old Jamerrill, I'm like, you know what? I gotta take care of myself too. I do. And if I don't put myself at the top of that list and take care of me, no one else is gonna do it for me. So, all that to say, I'm doing 4 hours of dedicated freezer cooking, and then I'm gonna go have my nice evening walk and maybe a hot Epsom salt bath, and that is great. I've gotten other business work done today throughout the day, checked all the boxes. My household of folks, they got their boxes checked. They are outside now, running and playing and doing fun things. Then I think there's some crafting projects very deeply going on in the middle of my living room, which is what I wanted a big living room for. So I see from here, there's some Amazon boxes, there's some little like cardboard wrap that came on a glass jar that I had, There's some very creative things going on. Oh, when I get egg off my hand, remind me here in a minute to show you my roll of foil. I feel like I need to show it to you now. Okay, if I don't, I'll forget. Okay, see my Mega Mama roll of foil? Who knows where the box is that this came in? But this has been super, super loved today. There's all kinds of armor made, and like armor for toys, armor for boys, armor for everybody. And there's been some swords that have been made, I think made out of cardboard first, then wrapped in foil. I did not know where my foil was, but it was out there getting much, much love and attention, which that's the kind of childhood adventures I like for my folks to have. So I did bring my foil back into my kitchen. We will try to find the box for it, but I don't know. I don't know. The box is probably in the cabinet where I keep the foil. It's just the box was not as important as the foil itself. So anyway, that is good and productive. So I'm hopeful, beginning of this cooking project, that we're gonna come out with about 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. Most of them, hopefully about 3/4 of them, to be done with the homemade sourdough that I've made. But again, I did go ahead and get 6 packs of great value bagels as well, because I have all ages and stages in my house. I have over 6 foot tall teen sons, and it ain't nothing at 4 p.m. after breakfast, lunch, and before dinner to see one walking by with 2 or 3 bagel sandwiches. It's a whole thing. So I got teens, I got preteens, I got elementary, I got a preschooler, I have young adults, I have my 76-year-old mama, I got me, myself, and I. So we have a lot going on. If you're new here, I am a mom of 9, and I used to say in all my videos, family of 11. I now, surprise, I now am a single mom, and I'm to the point where I can just say that. Of course, you all knew I was a single mom before I was emotionally to the place where I could look in the camera and just say those words. It just means that what I thought my life looked like and what I thought reality was is not what reality was. So I know I'm not a woman alone in that story, right? And I can smile, and we're just making the best of it, aren't we? So whether you have 3 kids in private school, whether you work from home, whether you work an overnight hospital shift, whether you are a college student, whether you are empty nesters, I have had I feel like every configuration of life viewer here on YouTube. That's what's so fun about YouTube. We don't have to all match, right? Had so many people follow my big batch freezer cooking recipes. My empty nesters who like to watch and follow, they will take my 9x13 pan recipes and get 2 8x8s out of each recipe. If I do 40 freezer meals, they'll do 70 or 80 using my recipe sizes. And it's just so very helpful. So how long will 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches last in my house? You know, we like to say, cook once, eat for a month. I know Once a Month Cooking has been a popular site on the internet for probably 20 years now. That's a whole method. I believe they have several cookbooks as well, where these ladies would plan out a month of meals and cook them in one day, and then freeze them. Hey, they meal prep for the month, and then reheat them and serve them up in different ways throughout the month. I love that idea. I have never been able to micromanage my month and my humans and my life. And I'm sure with that concept, it wasn't a perfect, like these are the exact, 96 meals and it goes perfect. I'm sure that the Once a Month Cooking pioneers had life and things and stuff and things, right? That would happen and things would stretch and flex. So the way that I developed in my big batch freezer cooking over the last 2 decades now, again, last 10 years, a little more than 10 years now, heavy on YouTube is that I would do about 10 or 15 recipes at a time, and of course they were big batch. So I would be getting 2 to 3 large family size meals out of every recipe. So I could take 10 recipes, have 40 meals for my freezer. Now, oh my goodness, you can't eat the same 10 recipes over and over and over again. Well, no, that wasn't the point, but I could get ahead with 40 meals. And in those 9 by 13 pans, which I originally started showing here years ago on YouTube, I could get a lot of those even in one freezer, which was super helpful. And I started out with a used yard sale freezer and one freezer at a time. I'm just getting up there. So I got a collection of freezers. You know, a grown woman, again pushing 50, haha. You know, if you need a collection of freezers by this stage in life, you should have some freezers, right? It was my total dream to have a stocked up pantry and freezers full of food for my family, and here we are, still doing the thing, right? So with my big batch freezer cooking, we've done a lot of 9 by 13s and 10 by 15 meals. We've done a lot of slow cooker freezer meals, a lot of instant pot freezer meals, lots of sheet pan meals and big skillet meals. Lots of ways to do it. And since my life has taken some twists and turns, I feel like as my brain heals and as my emotions heal, and then as I get knocked back down and I gotta get back up again and I gotta focus on my own health and healing, even with my freezer cooking, it just has to be step 1, let's start. Step 2, 1 step at a time, go from there. So with these, hopefully, 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, which goals are: get sheet pan eggs today, get the sourdough discard, biscuits on the counter fermenting today, get this bread, this homemade bread cut, get going. We're chug-a-lugging. See, you get me talking. We get talking here. So 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, family of 10, let's say on average 6 or so of my household pretty actively eat these. Even if out of those 6, they only have 1 at a time, which again, you get some teen boys walking around with 2 or 3 on a plate, that's just not happening, but pretend math, okay? It ends up that even over an 8-week period, people could have about 4 or so a week. So I like to prep these breakfasts and get them in the freezers for whoever needs them for whenever they need them. So I like to say, I don't have 9 babies, I only have 1 preschooler. That's not turned on yet. Okay. I thought I heard it for a second. So that means I have 9 other folks who live here who are all capable of going downstairs, and once we have these individually wrapped, getting a bag or 2 of these, they'll put them from frozen into the refrigerator, and within another day or 2, they will be microwaving and eating these already prepped sandwiches. So again, super helpful. So I'm just taking my mixer here and beating up all of these eggs. This is just my method that I do it. I get as many eggs cracked as I am inspired to do so in one of my big 30-quart bowls, and I use my mixer and mix it all around. Now you can add in your salt, your pepper, and I know several folks have told me to add cottage cheese to scrambled eggs. You can mix up your mix for your sheet pan eggs any way you like. And I do have several different variation recipes over on my blog, largefamilytable.com, with a variety of sheet pan eggs and sheet pan breakfast options. When I get in my zone with cooking, my brain becomes, how can I bigger this, get more bang for my buck, because I'm cooking anyway. Got my 30-quart bowl, got my eggs. I'm gonna go ahead and put in these other 4 18-count packs of eggs into this. I've got 2 more packs of this diced ham. I'm doing it all, because I figure, of course, lots of breakfast sandwiches. Hey, look, I'm meal prepping. If I have some left, I'm meal prepping some breakfast options for this week. So let me grab a few more things. Okay. Again, we're doing it. We're doing it. And there's the box. Okay, hold on here. Are you a full box anymore? You're not really, but I'll need you at some point. Okay, there's that. Woo! Now, I'm going to also add in cottage cheese. This is the cottage cheese. I love to eat when I'm eating it. If you've never seen this trick before, it's something I've learned on the internet where you learn all the things. And I'm pretty sure some of my YouTube viewers a few years ago said, you should try putting cottage cheese in your eggs. And I have several times. And I love anything that adds more good protein to a recipe. Also, I love anything, that bulks it up more, right? So we're gonna have cottage cheese in these eggs. Now, I'm not telling my folks, oh, Mom gobbed up your sheet pan eggs with some good cultured cottage cheese. I'm just putting cottage cheese in there. I am going to, it's not total perfection. This is questionable shredded cheese, okay? And I'll see. I have some of that. We sliced 12 pounds of provolone the other week when I thought that we were doing these, and I might have some left. They've used them for sandwiches and all kinds of good things. I had someone the other night putting it on their spaghetti, and so anyway, I will see what our cheese options are. All that to say, use what you have on hand. If you have some good cultured cottage cheese, great. Is that really what we're doing here? High protein, gluten-free, looks good, no chemical preservatives, no gums, no artificial anything. I love it. Yes, simple ingredients. Okay, that'll be good to use that up. And I'm just going for it. Anyway, use what you have on hand and what you have to work with, that's for sure. I will add some salt and pepper to these eggs. I'm gonna add, this will be 2, 4, 6 pounds of diced ham. That'll be great. And I could, I've got my plan for what I'm doing. And right now it's a variety of breakfast freezer meal sandwiches and the sourdough discard biscuits. I not only want to do, I'm hoping to do 12 dozen, okay? That's just what my afternoon Jamerrill, 4:47 p.m., haven't even got the sheet pan eggs in the oven, but that's what I'm telling myself. If we're doing it, we're doing it. That's just what we do around here. So I would like to use 6 dozen of the sourdough discard biscuits first, at least sausage and sourdough biscuit breakfast sandwiches. And then I would like to freeze the other sourdough biscuits. And now I'm thinking, well, meal prepping for my week, maybe we'd keep 2 dozen out and freeze 4 dozen, right? But we can keep on dreaming. Sometimes I don't even get much of anything that I big batch cook up in the freezer after a few days go by and it's in the refrigerator. But yes, making this many dozen delicious homemade biscuits and breakfast freezer meal sandwiches with the bagels and other goodies that we have, we will definitely be able to get most of those in the freezer. I just know reality is that when the biscuits are hot out of the oven, they are going to be a hot commodity around here. So I need to plan some to leave out and enough to squirrel away. And I get lots of questions, which is great because I know that people get into these videos all kinds of different ways. You don't know me, you never seen me before. YouTube serves up this video, thinks that you would like to watch a big batch breakfast freezer cooking video, and you don't know me, you don't know my story, you don't know my household. That's cool. Then I got people that used to read my original blog like 14 years ago, and they have been so faithfully following along every step of the way. They remember when I used to be barefoot and pregnant, making chicken pot pie, making homemade laundry soap back in my farmhouse. So anyway, as far as making freezer meals, in 2024, I think I had 6 to 8 big freezer cooking times the whole year. Okay, the whole year. In the past, I have had times where I could have, and this used to be my goal, to have 1 to 2 big freezer cooking days a month. That way I could keep all my pumps primed on breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack ideas and options. I have been an online successful businesswoman for well over a decade. I have a business that I made and I sold. I've had other new businesses and income streams. I've had a lot going on. I had 4 babies in 5 years. As I've mentioned, I'm a mom of 9. I've juggled a lot. And then the past, I think, are we over 18 months now? I think we're officially over 18 months now. my life blew up unimaginably. Okay. Okay. Whole life bingo card. You win. You win. I've had some other things on my bingo card I didn't know was coming. So I'm pretty glad. And I'm proud of us. I'm proud of me, myself, and I, that in 2024, I got in those 6 to 8 freezer cooking times, where before in a year, I could have had easily 12 to 24 big freezer cooking times. And those 6 to 8 times were so helpful so many times. One of the questions I get, I've gotten this in a variety of ways over the years, I see you make all these freezer meals, I don't see you eat it. You know why? First off, my large family meals of the week videos that I've been doing for like 8 years now, I have shown us using a lot of freezer meals in a variety of ways. And then I also show myself doing a lot of big batch cooking, freezing the leftovers, all kinds of configurations. So that playlist will also be linked in the description. But a lot of times why you don't see us using 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, there's a whole lot of days I don't film. There are days where I'm just a full-on focused mama. Now with all my extra life juggles, there's a whole lot of days where emotionally I just can't film, where I got other things and other life circumstances I have to pay attention to, where we are leaving early one morning and we're going on a field trip to DC. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? Random family member number 6, go downstairs, get us 2 bags of breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. We have a busy field trip day coming up and another day with appointments and another day XYZ, fill in the blank here. We're gonna need some breakfast freezer meal sandwiches this week. So believe me, we eat them. And also, as a busy mama, I try to give my household times and days and meals where I'm not filming. And since I film a lot of food, I'll have days, even in my large family meals of the week videos, I might film our food for 7 days, but I might film that over 10 days, just to have some times where I don't have to say, okay, hold on, let me film that real quick before you eat it, you know? And that's just online food content creator life. I have other friends that have food blogs and cookbook authors and all of that, and just a standard growing up in those households. The kids ask, can we eat this, Mom, or do you have to take a picture of it first? So anyway, I don't know. I know some life adventures coming up, okay? This is looking, okay? I know some life adventures coming up. I don't know them all. 1 month, 2 month, 3 month of homemade sourdough, hopefully eggshell-less breakfast freezer meal sandwiches stocked in the freezer. Yes, please. Another thing is, just like my to-do list, I've already had like 6 big batch freezer cooking days on my to-do list now, 8 weeks into 2025. This is the first one I've made happen. Yay! So that's why I just went ahead and I'm like, nope, I'm cracking those 12 dozen eggs. Because if I'm making sourdough breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, I'm making sourdough breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, okay? And then you'll keep watching, see how many more big freezer cooking days I get in 2025. I sure hope it's a lot. I sure hope, I mean, at least 2 a month, right? It is just, again, so very helpful. I used to be so good about having 100 peanut butter and jellies in the freezer or 100 meat and cheese sandwiches ready to go. And you may not think that's helpful, but if you're a mom feeding a whole lot of kids, let me tell you, being able to take 12 peanut butter and jellies out of the freezer ready to go the night before, add some fruit and some pretzels the next day on a field trip, I mean, hey, look, we meal prepped. It's amazing. So I want to be that woman again. This is me getting back to an advanced version of the woman that I was, the woman that I want to be. I still have to feed a lot of people, even though my life is a country song. And big batch freezer meal prepping sure helps me every day. Okay. So I'm going to throw in the equivalent of a couple teaspoons of Redmond salt in here. And I'm going to eyeball, if I don't bend my nails the wrong way, a couple teaspoons of pepper. That's pretty good. Okay.
And Eyeball in School is the best. We've been doing Eyeball in School over here on YouTube for over a decade now. Just a little of this and a little of that and mix up a whole lot of halata. And we are going to have some meals prepped and ready to go. Of course, I mix in freezer meals with freshly made meals, and it's all good. It's all food in tummies and help for mom.
Now, I feel like I hear a question from over in New Zealand or someplace, right? Like, Jamerrill, why aren't you using your Hobart mixer? Well, that's a 12 quart, and I've probably got a good 15 quarts or so of our egg mix happening here. This is a 30 quart bowl, and this is over halfway full. So it's just easier for me to operate for these even bigger batches out of these bowls. I got my first one 8 or so years ago. They are 30 quarts. They're about $30 still. Yes, you can get them at restaurant supply stores. I'll also have them in the description below, and a card will pop up with them. You can get them on Amazon and Walmart and all those places, and they're still somewhere between like $27 to $30. I love them so much, I have 4. And I have to say, you don't have to have a Mega Mama kitchen if you want yourself a 30 quart mixing bowl. Before I was in a big, huge, wonderful kitchen, I had a small little squat baby kitchen. That's what we used to call it. My friend Becky from Anchor Homestead, her and her mama came to visit me, I don't know, early 2022-ish, and she was like, my goodness. She was standing in the baby kitchen. She was like, this is even smaller than it looks on the TV. So that kitchen was truly small, and I still used those big bowls in it. And then my kitchen before that one was just a nice average size kitchen. That's where I got those bowls at and loved them. And they served me well. So there's a couple different ways we can go about these sheet pan eggs. Also, you don't have to use these full-size baking sheets. My full-size baking sheets that I also got at the Forest House about 8 years ago, they all disappeared. I didn't have any left. So I don't know. I just don't know. So we have a nice collection of like the half size and the quarter size baking sheet show and tell. So yeah, they look very dirty in comparison, but they're well loved and used. We have, I think this is half size and this is quarter size. I just don't think, anyway, who knows? There's been a lot happening. But anyway, whether you're using quarter size, half size baking sheets, whether you're using full size baking sheets, I would suggest for sheet pan eggs, go ahead and put yourself some parchment paper down. Even if they end up looking like that, it's okay. You're just able to get the eggs up nice. I like to cut them in squares. Now, we got a couple different options. I could do parchment paper and then pour the egg mix and then sprinkle ham on top. I can sprinkle the ham first, then cover an egg. I'm not sure which way. There's no wrong way. It's great. If I had the pre-cooked sausage, I would sprinkle the sausage. So we have options, and options are my favorite. So I think just because I like to have things as simple as possible, I think I'm just gonna dump this diced ham in here and we'll mix it through. But what'll happen is the diced ham is going to sink to the bottom, whether you're doing, you could saute yourself up some onions and some peppers, variety of colored peppers. I'm like seeing this in my head. Do yellow and orange and red and green. Hello garden season. Saute up your vegetables and dump them in as well. They will still sink to the bottom with the weight. So when you're scooping it out, it's a simple fix. Run your scoop along the bottom and be sure you're dipping up your protein and your veggie goodies too. I don't have any peppers, but like right now I want some peppers. Can't you taste those? That would be great. But that's the thing. Not all of my household would be thrilled to see colored peppers in their eggs. So moms make accommodations, right? So again, this was 12 dozen eggs and 6 pounds of diced ham. And we have the pre-cooked sausage patties. I bought 6 packs of those pre-cooked sausage patties, again, 2 weeks ago when I thought I was doing this. My folks have loved them. So I'm just thinking that for some of these, I will do that. And I guess that sausage I bought, I'm going to just throw in the freezer. We'll use it for something else because it's just not working timing-wise today.
But that's okay, we can be flexible, and don't worry, that sausage that I bought will definitely get used, and we're going to use it in this video. I know from the future that we're going to use about 10 pounds or so of that sausage coming up, so keep on watching and see what sausage adventures we have in store too.
And once we get these in the oven, we'll work on cutting our bagels and English muffins. And I might do one oven is regular size and the other oven is bigger. So I might end up doing 2 big sheet pans and then 2 standard sized sheet pans and go from there. I'm going to move these out of our way for a minute. And I will reuse those bags. I froze these bagels in them just quickly a few weeks ago, but we will put our wrapped breakfast freezer meal sandwiches in there. We don't always individually wrap them. That's another question I get a lot, is about freezer burn. Again, in 12 weeks, there will be no more breakfast sandwiches. I think in 8 weeks, in 2 months, there will be no more of these. So I've never had a problem with freezer burn, because we roll through things within a few months. Things that might stay around longer might be like 3-gallon bags of big batch spaghetti sauce or big batch chili, but even then they taste fantastic. We defrost and we're actually finishing up some big batch spaghetti sauce that one of my teens did a few weeks ago, and then I had them throw, I think it was 2-gallon bags of extra sauce in the freezer. We defrosted that this past weekend, and we've been having our spaghetti party in the evenings, and I do believe that is done this evening. I don't even know if we have enough spaghetti servings for everyone for dinner, so hey, guess what we will have a lot of servings of? That'll be an option. That, grapes, baby carrots, apple slices, the fruit lives here. So with doing the sheet pan eggs, I have my ovens actually heating up at 400. I just double checked my time on the blog because I know many of you will ask me. One of my sheet pan omelet recipes I have over there, that was for 20 to 25 minutes at 350. Okay, I need a variety of dippers here to get our sheet pan eggs going.
And so my parchment paper is not going to perfectly cover these full-size sheet pans. And so my quandary is that I'm thinking here, yeah, some egg's going to drip under it. So what's the point? But it still will help in the process whenever we go to wash these pans. They're not going to be 100% covered with eggs. So it's still worth it to use the parchment paper in my book. And so I'm just taking my big dipping spoon here and stirring it up, and then I'm just going to use my 4-cup measuring cup, and I'm going to dip our egg mixture, being sure to get some ham pieces in each big dip into the big sheet pans. And you can do this with any size sheet pan. It does not have to be these big full-size sheet pans either.
Also, I don't know if you noticed, but there's still daylight in my windows and it's after 5 o'clock. It's a very exciting time of year, right?
We even had a 60-degree day in Virginia this week. My goodness, it's just glorious. And still technically February whenever I'm filming this, but I know we could get snow in March. I know we could get ice. I know things could go wonky, but I am ready for winter to be done. January and February just seemed like ice, snow, sickness, ice, snow, sickness, laryngitis, ice, snow, sickness, hacking cough. And I'm just ready to be done with it.
All right, 2 big sheet pans of sheet pan eggs. We got a few more loads to go, but let's get these in the oven.
So I'm super hopeful at this point. My full-size sheet pans fit in my oven at the Forest House, which, if you're new here, that's the house I lived in 5 years ago. I lived in there, well, we moved in, I guess, a total of 9 years ago. Lived there 4 years and then moved into this house, and I've been here officially 5 years. So longtime viewers have been with me in all my ovens. So I get it in the oven, and I'm hopeful. And now we're going to go get the other full-size sheet pan, get it in the oven, also hopeful. Okay, yes, nice, beautiful, and...
Okay, well, this ain't great. Maybe that'll be the name of my memoir. This ain't great. Well, The sheet pans fit, but I can't close the door with them. If we were doing something other than eggs, something not liquid, I would just bump them up a little bit and get the door closed. But I can't get away with that fooling around with eggs. It's great, right? It's great, we're fine. We're fine, it's great. Okay, well, thanks for the laughs. It's gonna be so good here. We're having a nice time. Okay, nice. Ugh. Okay, your turn. Your turn. We're having a nice time. What can go wrong? Nothing but everything. It's our theme song, right? Okay. Well, that ain't great. That ain't great. But we shall overcome, right? So, well, my old faithful sheet pans that I have used a whole lot of. We'll just go at it another way, won't we? Like all of life. But I do need to probably set these over here. That red pot is soaking from its adventures. Just like Dory taught us in Finding Nemo, what do? We just keep swimming. Yes. Not going to worry about salvaging. Whoops, paper. All right, so stay there. Hands. Okay, this teaches us don't try to upgrade your life. Don't try to do sheet pan eggs in a bigger sheet pan. That was pretty kind. Oh, I like kindness. That's my favorite. That's probably pretty good. I'm gonna actually put this in the oven. While we're ahead, okay.
Well, we just make the best of it, right? And of course, hey, look at my camera. It looks like I'm having a little earthquake at my house, but I'm not. I think my camera tripod just wasn't set quite right. So there seems like there's a breeze a blowing and the footage is a rocking, but that's okay. We're just making the best with this sheet pan mess, huh? So that'll get washed. Oh well. And hey, the eggs are mixed, and hey, I can get it pretty well dumped into that sheet pan and into the oven, and it's okay. I mean, I didn't spill egg all over the bottom of the oven. We didn't have that adventure today. And so this is how I've been doing my sheet pan eggs in these ovens. I was just so happy and thrilled to have full-size sheet pans again, because again, I was back at the Forest House using my full-size sheet pans to develop and cook up so many big batch, large family style sheet pan dinners. Somewhere along the way, again, though, I don't know where those pans went. So I just got these 4 new ones. I'm glad to have them. I'm still going to be able to use them for things, just not liquid things.
More kindness. The kindness continues as long as I move slow and don't spill it. We are winners. perfect timing because I started to dip out the rest of those sheet pan eggs. Sorry, I realized I was hiding behind my mega hood here. And anyway, my timer just went off. So, tis good, tis good. Okay. Saw went to one side, went downhill a little bit. Okay, actually, while I have this open, I'm gonna get these two in. My little oven mitts already out. So with this Dream stove here, the top is electric and the bottom is, nope, top is gas, bottom is electric. And that was just my best try when buying this stove. I have a friend who had a fancy French stove, I believe it came from France, and it was a gas top and a gas oven. Okay, I don't have another pan ready. We'll get some in here in a second. And the oven went, and she was dealing with trying to get that fixed. It was just very hard for her to get the gas oven fixed. And I had read some other reviews with folks baking and cooking with gas ovens, and there can be difficulties. But I mean, I can slide stuff off the pan and burn stuff around the edges in any kind of oven, so it's not like I'm fancy. We do have some nice examples of sheet pan eggs here as well. I'll probably put some cheese on top of these now. I just, again, got busy talking and not cheesing. So, well, we'll do something. Let's get these other pans in the oven. Let me talk about my ovens. I did have one of these ovens maybe a year in go. The warranty was dealt with. We did have it fixed. It did take about 6 to 8 weeks or so. That all worked out. Haven't had any other issues. And that's so glad, because you know what? Mama really doesn't like any other issues. And now that I'm a single mom, it can be difficult for me, I feel like, to even handle, I don't know, to handle many different things. But when I had trouble with my 2 dishwashers this summer, dealing with repairmen, I had them out several times. It was super stressful. And at the end, I think 3 months into it, I just bought 2 of the cheapest dishwashers I could and had Lowe's deliver them and install them. Because I'm like, okay, after, I can't have another full-time job of staying on top of appliance repairs. But there we go. We're getting sheet pan eggs in the oven. My new little thing I have to figure out is on my Z-line hood on this cooking range, the 4 little lights have gone out. They're still there. They blink. I need to Google, but please help me get this on my to-do list. I need to Google how to replace the 4 stovetop lights on my Z-line hood. Okay, it's coming up. Right now, my little workaround is I ordered some lights that I can click on so you all can see what I'm doing, but they're battery powered. So guess who's buying more AAA batteries whenever I forget to turn those off? So just little trials of life, little nonsensical things that I deal with. But as I like to say, we are doing it and it is all okay. And there's our eggs. Those are cooking up nicely. And so with these sheet pan eggs, I mean, you could saute peppers, saute onions, whatever you would like in an omelet. You could put spinach in it, just anything you would like in your eggs, in your breakfast sandwiches. I just feel like sheet pan eggs is such a fun, quick oven hack to get some loaded omelets in your breakfast sandwiches. And because so many of you over the years have reminded me and told me to put a kitchen towel under my cutting board, there I am remembering your hack and getting that done. And so now these are some of the sourdough bagels that I was able to get into the freezer when everyone was distracted. I was able to get a couple dozen in the freezer a few weeks ago, and I saved them for working on these breakfast freezer meals. Otherwise, they would have been gone. So now they will be used for some good breakfast freezer meals. We have a couple dozen of the bagels and maybe 2 dozen of the English muffins total between
these sourdough bagels and 6 packs of Walmart bagels and the homemade sourdough English muffins, we get about 90 breakfast sandwiches out of this batch. We have not started our big batch sourdough discard biscuit making though. That is coming up in this video. Right now, this adventure, I have to get all of these pre-sliced. Of course, the couple bags of Walmart ones I got just to help fill in some gaps there, those were pre-sliced, and those are picture perfect. And my sourdough discard ones, I just love homemade bagels because it's not picture perfect. You know, there's different size holes, different shaped bagels. It all works out lovely. I have made some different varieties, and these are just a very basic sourdough discard bagel. I did just drop half of one on the floor. That's what I was making that face about. Oh no, a bagel for a kitty. That is sad, but that's okay. And so what I had my folks do a couple weeks ago was, hey, help Mama out. It wasn't actually me hiding the bagels in the freezer. I said, hey, we got a couple dozen of these left. Before we eat all of them, since we have other things, let's go ahead and get these in the freezer for Mama, make an upcoming big batch breakfast freezer meals for you guys. And so my teens threw the bagels in those bags for me. We are going to reuse these bags for the sandwiches once they're done. They got those in the freezer, and yep, nice little bagel. And we have a couple loaves of that sourdough we big batch made, like the artisan loaf bread. And that's using Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone, using her sourdough. And so I will link Lisa's recipes for her sourdough discard bagels and English muffins and beginner artisan loaves in the description. I have been using those as I have dabbled my toes into the sourdough world. I have been using Lisa's recipes since 2023, and I have really enjoyed all of them. And so here is how our many pans of sheet pan eggs are looking. These are some ham omelet sheet pan eggs, we'll call them. As I've told you, we do get a use for that sausage that we're going to cook up and use for a cooking project too, to make some more breakfast freezer meals in this video. And I just love a good bread knife. My bread knife cuts through this sourdough with no problem whatsoever. It's just the little process of cutting through the homemade bagels. And then we will get our sheet pan eggs on here. And on some of these, we're going to get the pre-cooked Walmart Great Value sausage circles. And then some of these we will get big slices of cheese on too. And coming up, I'm going to cut up that bag of English muffins as well. Those, I only got one bag in the freezer. And I think I made more of the bagels, but the English muffins, they got woofed down quickly too, which is why I make them, because I have people to feed. And it is my big joy in my heart making home-cooked meals for my family.
Alrighty, so we've got our last sheet pan egg pan coming out. That's pretty good. And some have a little air bubble, but we'll pop that. That's no problem. So we've got 2, 4, 6, we got 8 sheet pan egg pans. Yay. So I need to decide. I can either assemble these breakfast sandwiches, or I think what I ought to do, but I need to sit and analyze the recipe for a minute. I also want to do those sourdough discard biscuits, and I need to get those going. I think this just answers my question. I need to get those going tonight to ferment overnight so we can bake them and do things with them tomorrow. But hey, look, we meal prepped our eggs. That's a big thing checked off our list. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna sit here for a minute. I was looking at Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone on her sourdough discard biscuits. Okay, she has directions. Okay, I didn't realize this, how to make quick sourdough biscuits. And then she has directions on how to make long fermented overnight sourdough biscuits. So earlier when I was looking at this recipe, flying by the seat of my pants like how we do around these here parts, I thought that long fermented overnight was the only option. It says at room temperature for 8 to 24 hours. That's always nice because if I don't get back to something, I know we can come back to it later. Okay, and so then it says for quick sourdough biscuits, we're gonna follow the recipe and just roll with it. Just put it on cast iron or baking sheet, glass baking pan, Bake them right away for 30 minutes. Bake right away or allow biscuits to rise for 30 minutes to an hour in a warm spot. So that gives us the option if I wanted to assemble the breakfast sandwiches tonight, and we could do the biscuits start to finish tomorrow. Okay, so this makes, one batch makes a dozen, so that's good. So we got cold butter cut into chunks, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of sourdough discard, 1 tablespoon of sugar, half a cup of milk or buttermilk, or you can use water, a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Well, happy new day, friends. Hey, look, we meal prepped our sheet pan eggs from last night. I was able to go until about 7:30. I quit an hour early because that's the kind of woman I am these days. I had some other mama things that I had to attend to instead, and I got in a 2-mile, which doesn't mean I walk 2 miles away. I just walk around my house and my property. Got in a 2-mile before bed, nice relaxing evening walk. And now today, so I didn't assemble no sandwiches, and I didn't do any sourdough discard biscuits. It's okay, because I also took care of mama. My goal right now is to get these sandwiches assembled. I also brought up our meat slicer and another 6.13 pounds of marble Colby Jack cheese from Sharp Shopper, $3.49 a pound, $21.35 for this big roll. What I like to do with my breakfast sandwiches is include cheese within it. So then it's just very much an omelet, and it can be microwaved. I've also done a lot of breakfast sandwiches where we have our sheet pan eggs and there's a slice of cheese on it. And then a cheese slice is added, it is heated up in the microwave, everything's defrosted, and obviously the cheese melts over the egg. So I think that's what we're doing. Doesn't have to be super complicated, but first thing is, so, and also last night, how things work around here, I said, hey, take these sheet pan eggs to your mama once they cool down, and just stack them in one of our refrigerators. We stack them like this. And today, hey look, prepping for freezer cooking. So I have a little less than 2 hours until I have to leave for some afternoon appointments. And I thought I can at least get these breakfast sandwiches going. When are we doing the sourdough biscuits? We're doing them. I know that. But right now, let's get this going. And also, last evening, I had several folks cut squares of the sheet pan omelet and do other evening sandwiches and such. So some of these have been used, and by the time we get to the sourdough discard biscuits for the freezer, we'll see. We might even be doing more sheet pan eggs. We'll see how it all works out.
I always like to say, your guess is as good as mine. You know, I do live in a household with a lot of people. And so when I get doing cooking projects, people also want to eat this food I'm making now. And I'm also trying to make food coming up. And we also have food in the refrigerator and food in the freezer. And we need meals ready to go. So that was actually my little backup meal prep plan for dinner the night before. I figured we would not have enough servings of big batch spaghetti left. And so perfect. I had several of my folks have slices of our sheet pan omelets here, along with our standard, at least our seasonal strawberries and green grapes and purple grapes, and that was dinner for several. And I even had some of the sheet pan eggs, so they were super delicious. And so now I don't even count the squares. I just eyeball it and I get good enough squares cut out.
Alrighty, so we are going to get this cheese slice, because just like about 2 weeks ago now, before the water park and my life timeline, before all that, I did over 12-pound massive provolone roll. And folks use that sliced cheese for what folks use sliced cheese for. And so now with this, I'm going to slice it down, and we'll do some of these breakfast sandwiches with the cheese on it. Of course, what could happen, those that may not get sliced cheese, in 4 weeks, when said bagel without sliced cheese gets defrosted, then they could always add a slice on it then too. So let's see here. Just working on setting up my system. Want to get something to put the cheese on after I slice it. All right. I know one of my YouTube viewers told me they put their hand back here to catch it. I'm so new at this, I thought it was best if I just keep my hands away from anywhere I'm not sure of and just let it stack up. That's what I did last time. I believe I showed it in one of my large family meals of the week videos. I think it was my spoon theory working in my real life was the title. And within that, it was also a meals of the week video. And me just trying to get stuff done, trying to get this freezer cooking. And then because of several hard realities and things in my life, I ended up crashing and not being able to get that done. And boy, it would have been so nice to have had a freezer full of meals during that time. Okay, I'm plugged in, pressing the on button. We'll see where we are here. Yeah, that ain't right. Okay, hold on. Okay, I think I see what's happening. It's off. Yes, we must move back a little. There we go. Okay, this dial controls the thickness of the slices. Are we being productive? We are. And remember, this is not an instructional video on how to use a meat slicer properly. This is a mom getting some cheese for her breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. It is sunshiny in Virginia. That is amazing. It's like in the 50s, 55 now.
So we will take that nice weather for sure. And I am getting more comfortable using this cheese slicer. This is definitely better than my broken cheese slicer I used at some point in 2024. This was the replacement slicer that was purchased, and we have definitely enjoyed slicing up these big logs of cheese from Sharp Shopper with this. In fact, next time I go to Sharp Shopper, I'd like to get 2 or 3 logs because they last a decent time. I mean, I've never had one go bad on us in the refrigerator until we get to cutting it. And this cheese slicer is certainly a wonderful way to prep big batch cheese, and it's somewhere between like $2.99 to $3.69 a pound. They have this marbled Colby cheese, they have provolone, they have different pepper jack cheeses and ghost pepper cheeses, and so many wonderful ones. Even the raw cheddar and raw cheeses I've gotten from Azure. It's been a while since I've put in an Azure order, and as I was looking at, we've got a big container of the Azure dish soap. And I have one of my helpful teens refill our dish soap bottles, even though you see big bottles that say Ajax in both sinks. For a while now, we've been refilling with the Azure soap. So I've got about a quarter left in there. I think I'm out of my Azure honey. I still have some Azure blackstrap molasses, but I think I could definitely put in an Azure order. Again, it's just ordering from Azure takes some planning and prepping ahead and knowing what I need to order, what I need more of in bulk. It is nice that the Azure delivery and pickup area is just a few miles in my area from my house, which is great. And I do think at some point in the coming months, don't know, maybe in the spring or in the summer, I will put in another big Azure order. But I'm not ordering from Azure monthly. It's been working well. Of course, having Walmart delivery orders, those have been super helpful, especially in seasons when my capacity gets down and I just have days and weeks where I can't cook and I just need Walmart to deliver me their freezer meals and their great value pizzas. And I feel like I'm in a season where I'm able to get this freezer filled. I want to try to lean into that and get as many freezer meals done as I can, because honestly, I mean, life, living out spoon theory and all I'm dealing with and processing and all of those things that are my life is not outside the realm of possibility that I will have many times in 2025 where I will be so thankful for the meals for my family in the freezers. My future self will thank my current self for getting these done. And so things like even ordering for Azure and such, I'm even doing things simpler than that. Walmart delivery as needed. I'm going to try to get another big, like 4 to 6 week Costco grocery haul for the basics, for, toilet paper and hand soap and their nice big massive fruits and vegetables and things. Also want to go to the John Henry General Store, see if they have any more egg deals there, because last time they had local farm fresh eggs for $3.99 a dozen. I bought 30 dozen. Oh yes, I did. And so of course for this video, it was the Walmart eggs again, because I can't conveniently run into these little stores on any given day. If I have time to do the cooking projects, I just need to do the cooking projects. And so now onto every bagel, I am putting a slice of cheese and a little square of our sheet pan omelet. And right now at this point, I'm going through the 6 bags of Walmart bagels that I also got to fill in the gaps. My folks don't mind. They love Mama's sourdough bagels, and they also love Great Value bagels. So we will fill in with those.
All right, friends, we're working through it. Got some afternoon green tea going, and I'm setting my timer. I need to leave in about 30 minutes for 2 different afternoon appointments, and we will keep on rolling. I believe what I'm going to do is we're going to finish assembling these, and then I will have my folks who live here work on individually wrapping them and getting them in the bags. That would be good. And then, like I say, sourdough biscuit plans, we just pick that up, move that to tomorrow. Still gonna get it done. It's been working out well with these sheet pan eggs. I just make sure, biggest thing is, gotta make sure the parchment paper is off the bottom. That's a surprise we would not like. I do believe we have enough sheet pan eggs to finish all of these bagels. Getting low on our cheese, and I'm thinking, if nothing else, the sourdough biscuits, of course, can we freeze 6 dozen for later, just biscuits? And then, can we also make 6 dozen sausage biscuits? That would be nice. So here's another pan done. And then tomorrow, we might also, you keeping the whiteboard list for us? We might also be able to make a bunch. That's what we'll do. Okay, you know the, what was it? 4 to 6 pound sausage rolls I got, and they replaced it with the Jimmy Dean. Let's make some big batches of sausage gravy. Then, hey, look, I meal prep. Tomorrow night, everyone can have homemade sourdough biscuits and homemade sausage gravy for dinner. Delicious. And then we will freeze. Well, that's the thing. We will then consider maybe half of that sausage gravy between dinner and then maybe the next morning's breakfast. And then we will freeze how many gallon bags of sausage gravy? Okay. I think it sounds like a plan. We will also stay tuned for tomorrow's fresh energy. Once we get those 12 dozen biscuits done, and once we get that big batch sausage gravy done, where will we be then? Where will our energy be? And what adventures coming after that? We shall see.
But I'm proud of us. I love having these couple hours here and there over a couple days to get these huge cooking projects done. I think this is going to continue to be a method that works well for me.
So, looks like we've got 2.5 sheet pans left of eggs and a little bit of cheese, which is great because next up we will actually get some sourdough sausage biscuits that have omelet on it too. Sourdough sausage and omelet biscuits. So good. Okay. Very nice. And wait a minute, thought I was done. I've got 2 more bagels here. So we will count how many dozens we have over there on the counter. Total here in a minute.
And so we do end up with 90 breakfast sandwiches from this particular sandwich cooking time on this day. But don't worry, we are not leaving this video without making dozens and dozens of homemade from scratch sourdough discard biscuits, and also homemade from scratch regular old biscuits, just with all-purpose flour and no sourdough, and our baking soda and all those good adventures. But look at all those sandwiches. That just says, hey, grab a bag or two of breakfast sandwiches, put it in the refrigerator, heat it in the microwave. We've got breakfast done. Cook once, eat for a month. Cook once, eat for 2 months. Continue to watch my Meals of the Week videos, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
All right, good friends. Well, today's big biscuit day, big gravy day, big more breakfast freezer sandwich day. Let's jump right in and get cooking.
And so the very first thing we're going to get going on is making dozens and dozens of sourdough discard biscuits. Again, I'm following my friend Lisa on Farmhouse Spoon's directions. I wanted to do 10 to 12 dozen. Each dozen batch takes a cup of discard. So I think we're going to have enough to make it. This is, if you remember, maybe before we went to the water park for our winter trip, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I put my starter in the refrigerator, and this is it. I know, because I wrote SD starter and everything with those wet erase markers. Anyway, I want to give my active starter a little lovin', and so we will pour this out probably just here into this jar, and I will feed it, and we'll get some more discard saved up and just work through that process for some other projects coming up. I'm hoping to do some more active sourdough starter projects in upcoming videos. Now this is, for those of you who've asked, the gluten-free sourdough starter I have, and this is made with organic brown rice flour. I've ordered some organic brown rice flour to feed it. It says that that is the flour that's recommended. So we're going to start this gluten-free sourdough journey as well on the upcoming to-do list. You know, I used to do my own kombucha for years and years. So I got another starter for that. We're going to get that going, but not today. So anyway, let's feed this and get ready to work with all of this discard. So just a little getting ready prep in this kitchen on this day because we're doing it. It might have taken us 3 days, friends, but today is the big from scratch sourdough discard biscuit making day. I'm just gonna let this sit here and funnel and like it, and we'll feed that a little later.
Okay, so you definitely know we've made so many big batch biscuits for the freezer so many times over the years, but I've never made sourdough discard biscuits. And we obviously have that discard, and I love discard. So it makes me feel like I get yet another product out of something that I'm making. And you know me, I always love more and I always love a deal, so I don't mind gathering up the discard and using it for these projects. We used my sourdough discard I had gathered up for all of those homemade sourdough from scratch bagels that we made all those breakfast sandwiches with. So I just love a deal. So over on farmhouseonboone.com, I'll link her recipe below for her sourdough discard biscuits, which I'm gonna do them triple batches at a time. So for a single batch, 8 tablespoons of cold butter cut into chunks, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of sourdough discard, a tablespoon of sugar or honey, half a cup of milk, buttermilk, or also water, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. So I'm going to do a triple batch of that, which should give us 3 dozen biscuits to work with at a time. So we should hopefully hit our goal of 10 to 12 dozen biscuits within all that. Got my butter nice and cold. You know, many times my butter comes from the freezer. Cold butter for biscuits is best. I'm gonna do a little trick I have seen where you grate the butter instead of just chopping it with a knife, so we will do that. And I've just been doing some prep, getting my counter ready. Again, we're gonna do triple batches, so hopefully 4 triple batches here. And that butter I might actually run back to the fridge once we get this first batch going. And we won't use the giant bowls for this. Again, you know, maybe I could do a 10 dozen batch at one time. We've certainly done that with different things, but I just want to make sure I give my biscuits the proper attention and they come out just right. Lisa's directions have to do long fermented biscuits, which is where, if we would have done this 2 days ago, I would have mixed them up that night, let them ferment at least overnight or even the whole next day, and then we would have baked them up. And I'm doing her quick sourdough biscuit discard directions. And I'm just gonna get my butter open. I'm pretty sure, let's see, each dozen was 8 ounces. Each stick is 4 ounces. And we're doing a ×3 batch. So we will need 24 ounces. So 8, 16, so we get 6 of these open. And then I'm just gonna go to town grading them. And I was watching some other fluffy biscuit videos this morning while I was getting ready. I watched some over on the Preppy Kitchen, a couple other channels, and I got, let's see, 2, 4, 6. I got reminded of different things that I do wrong when I do big batch biscuits. And maybe not necessarily wrong, just a mom flying in the kitchen. Little things I've done recently that I just thought those are little tweaks I could make to improve my biscuits is I've been cutting my biscuits. Now, also, when I talk about making biscuits, I've probably only done big batch biscuits twice in the last year. Like you know, my life is a train wreck. I wear the jean dress because my life is a country song, but I have not been doing like huge big batch biscuits once a week. Who are we? But I did notice, especially the last time that I did biscuits, they just didn't turn out nice and fluffy. And I know I'd gotten it, I would do my air quotes, done it right in the past. But some of the tips that I was gathering was, and I have one, use a biscuit cutter so I don't close off the sides and give my biscuits more room to expand. Also, several YouTube cooking folks were talking about grating the butter with a cheese grater, and I'm like, oh man, we're great at that. Also, several of these biscuit videos took the time to put the butter in the freezer while they were doing other things. We will at least refrigerate our butter. And I know in the past, I've just done little chunks. Also, I believe it was over on the All Recipes, I'm sure it's allrecipes.com, but their accompanying YouTube channel. Over there, she was talking about even with measuring out flour, you know, so many times I just take my cup and I just get my cup of flour. And she was talking about how if I just take my cup and get my cup of flour, it actually packs down the flour. Wow, let's learn some things, Jamerrill, right? So I could take a spoon and dip it into my measuring cup that way. That way I don't end up with too much flour in my biscuits. And so these are all little things I want to work on and experiment with to get my biscuit making back to where it should be. I did have one of my teenagers ask me about the steps for making sausage gravy. So when we get to big batch sausage gravy this afternoon, I'm going to have them make a batch or 2 of it also, because making a boat of gravy, it's a life skill, you know? You want to be able to impress your friends making boatloads of gravy at one time. So with Lisa's recipe, if you have more time or just anything sourdough, the longer you ferment it, the longer it has to break the gluten down. And some folks, not all, but we have to, you know, do our bio-individual experiments on what works for us. Some folks who have gluten sensitivities, not celiac, but just gluten sensitivities, need to take gluten out of their diet for inflammation, have other reasons, health needs on why they need to be gluten-free. Some folks are able to have long fermented sourdough and it not affect them in any negative way. I had some folks at my house who did very well with long fermented sourdough for like 2 years or so. In more recent times, it hasn't gone so well. So that's why I want to truly get my gluten-free sourdough starter going. And then I feel like that'll be a whole new experiment working through recipes using that particular starter. Like even doing gluten-free sourdough discard biscuits. All of it again, but gluten-free style. And I don't have this lofty dream, but maybe my future, not yet reality, gluten-free baking will be so great that I'll be able to do some in bigger batches, and maybe even more of my household will like some of the gluten-free baking. What you think? Does that sound good? Okay, some of my sourdough boxes there are talking to me, jars. See, I don't want to totally crush all this butter. We've got 3 more to do. Maybe let's do some on a plate and we'll dump it. Okay. And those 2 we didn't need yet. Okay, I'm only gonna have 1 left. I saw the other 2 sitting there and I thought I needed to do those 2. I need to put those back in the refrigerator. So, in the videos that I watched, and I will try to link some of those for you down below, they were just talking about the importance of having your butter really, really cold. And you know me, I get busy cooking and my butter just sits, my butter gets warm and all of that. So let's see if I can make some tweaks today, because Lisa's sourdough discard biscuit recipe is a standard, wonderful, homemade from scratch biscuit recipe. And I have several over on largefamilytable.com as well. Hers also has the sourdough discard in it, which is a wonderful way to get more from your sourdough processing. Okay, so we're gonna follow directions, and I'm gonna go put this butter in the fridge for a few minutes while we work out other things and put my other 2 sticks of butter back. Okay, some other things we can get together. Well, I have a buttered hand, so let's take care of that. It is so beautiful outside. I've got folks outside at the picnic table with a sun umbrella. It's like gonna be 65 in Virginia today. Full of hope. Okay, so let's just follow our directions. So because we're doing a triple batch of all of this, to start, I'm gonna scoop out my flour and follow my internet directions. So she had it just, you spoon it. That way you don't get too much flour. So there's 1. So I need 6. I just did that, didn't I? Yep. Okay. Habits. I'm counting as if there's a certain spoon number. Okay. 2. Don't dip. 3. 4. 5. I just instinctively, I want to just shove my cup through the flour. Okay, 6. So, did that. Nice. Now it was a 1.5 cups of milk, buttermilk, or water. I'm just going to use water. Okay, I won't put that in quite yet, but hey, look, we prepped. Okay. And I can get my 3 cups of discard ready. And my other big liquid measuring cup is MIA right now, so I will pour my 1.5 cups of water into that one. And if you have folks that you want the benefit of sourdough for and they don't necessarily like all the tanginess, you can pour the hooch off, and that'll cut some of that down. Hold on here. Buttered hands. Okay, let's see. Whoever, I'm going to use whichever one I can open. There we go. And I have mixed reviews on the hooch, so I'm thinking on where I'm going to pour it. I might just pour it into this cup. Now, whenever I had my chickens and my pigs, just pour that into my scrap bowl too. It absolutely does not have to be a scrap. What I have done many times is also just mix it in, because you know, that's more bang for our buck. But I want everyone with the whole household to be super pleased with sourdough discard biscuits, and so I'm just aiming to please right now. Get my scraper. And we can't always please, but you know, we try. almost 3 cups. We're just right on the line there. Okay. And the longer the discard waits, the hungrier it gets. And so that's why you see that at the top. Okay, tablespoon of baking soda. 2 tablespoons of baking powder. So here's our baking soda. That was in bulk from measure. We're still working through that. And then this is also baking powder in bulk from measure. 1, 2. Okay, and it's aluminum free. And then it's 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. This is with the batch tripled to do about 3 dozen. Okay, so that is good. Just gonna clean up a speck. And now we got our cold butter. We got our 3 cups of discard. And so an active starter works as your yeast. The discard still gives you some benefits of sourdough, just like you can long ferment it and all of those fun adventures. And then of course in here we have baking soda and salt and baking powder. And then I'm adding in the honey or the sugar. Let me get a butter knife just to help a bit. And then I'm going to work hard on not over mixing. But we'll see how it goes. You can guarantee if someone is going to overmix, it's going to be this mama here. Not only Mega Mama, also overmixing Mama. These biscuits turn out absolutely delicious. You will see coming up. My folks go wild for them. So they were pretty hard for me to mess up. I think we mixed them up pretty well. We do it. We do it. So here I'm just trying to gently blend my ingredients. And then we're going to dump it out on the counter. This is the first time I don't actually use a rolling pin in doing biscuits. I watched several biscuit videos on this morning while I was getting ready, and several of them just use their hands. So I was going to experiment with that. Now in some of the videos I was watching again while I was getting ready for their tall, fluffy biscuits, they would roll them and then stack different layers. Then in the Preppy Kitchen, my little video, just like I give you book reports, I'll give you video watching reports. His biscuits were actually so tall they toppled over, and so he remade them and tried to cut them to where they were only 3/4 of an inch to at the most an inch thick. So we'll see what kind of adventures we have. To get in here with my hands. Okay. little bit. There we go. Nice. And I don't want to manipulate it too much. Just enough. Don't want to squish it down too much either. Helpful human here who quickly, I was like, oh, I need baking sheets. So they are grabbing my baking sheets for me, and yeah, just leave that one out. Or yes, put parchment paper on that, that'd be great. Now that one might be pushing it in the thickness. That looks a little more than an inch, but we'll try some. Now Lisa also says that we can let these sit out for about 30 minutes to rise some more. We'll just see how our biscuit making goes. I think I see a pretty good workflow happening here.
And I always love a good workflow. So I do think next time I'd like to improve upon this and just have a little bowl to dip my biscuit cutter in, like a little bowl of flour. I think that'll work better. But at least for right now, while I'm waiting to get some baking sheets overhanded to me, I am putting my biscuits on the counter. Yay, there we go. Whee! Fly away parchment paper. But I do have a lot of eager helpers in my household. Everybody does help Mama, and Mama sure does help everybody as well. So that's what a family is. We all work together to make it happen. And everybody knows that, hey, Mama is working from home, not only making our food, but doing what I need as an entrepreneurial mother to provide for our family and take care of us and pay for our 50% off water park adventures as needed and meal prep our food. If you haven't seen that video yet, I shared 2 videos. One where I meal prepped our food, and the next where we took all our food to the water park for 4 days.
Okay, so I'm going to set these over here. I like it. Get another batch going. And maybe a ×3 version of the recipe, since I'm going for thicker biscuits, maybe that's going to only be a dozen. Maybe I mean, we've got scraps here, so I've got 13 so far.
So I'm quickly realizing that my bigger biscuits are using much more of this batter. I'm sure Lisa's recipe was written to do, well, the original one was to do a dozen biscuits. And of course, I tripled it, which there's just a ×3 little a multiplier on her site, and so I was going to get 3 dozen biscuits, but then when I was working to make them thicker and to get them to be at least 1 inch per biscuit, 1 inch in depth, and wider biscuits. Yeah, I'm not getting 3 dozen out of it, but that's because I'm doing my mega mama math and doing a big mashup here, but they turn out so delicious. My younger kids end up calling them butter biscuits because they're so delicious and buttery.
Okay, so that triple batch made 12, 14, 16, 18. But again, I'm asking a lot of these biscuits. Like, I want big, thick biscuits. I would also, I'm tempted to test this out or to give them time to rise. I guess let's just keep going because we got the mess going, right? We'll do one cute little baby biscuit here with the little scraps that are left. Okay. All right, doing it again. So we again need 1.5 cups of water. Of discard.
And so we're just going to town here with another batch. I have to have 3 cups of discard for each triple batch of normal size biscuits. You can let me know in the comments below what you use to cut your biscuits with. Now in the past I've used just canning rings, and I've also used just a glass tipped over. But what I was reading about this morning and watching in different videos, they were saying that that can press down the sides of your biscuit, and that can also hinder its rising. So I am pouring off the hooch because, again, some of my younger folks don't like the strong sourdough flavor. And, you know, always a mama trying to please everyone. It's not possible, but mamas do what they can.
One. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Okay, so I will set that in there. And then we got our baking soda. Just 1 tablespoon of baking soda. And 2 tablespoons baking powder. Okay, and then the salt was 2 1/4 teaspoons, so better play it right, huh? So we need to do the butter and then mix in the wet. We're getting quicker. Still working on the butter, almost there though. I really like using a cheese grater for this, my goodness. Smart people on the internet. I have not grated my hand yet, so we're basically winning the day, right? We're winning Wednesday. I think when you all see this, it'll be Friday or Saturday. We can win those days too. Yes, we can. Those little chunks at the end, I hadn't even bothered cutting them with a knife. I just toss them on in. butter. Get on out of there. I've got one of these jars of sourdough discard hissing at me. That might be the one I couldn't get the lid off of, but I will have one of my folks come through here at some point for something, and I will ask for their opening services.
But boy, I sure do like this grating butter on a cheese grater trick. Wish I would have done that a while ago. It makes sense. So we just go to town doing that, and I do have one of my folks there trying to get a jar of discard open for me. And I am just going to now mix this up with my hands, pour in my sourdough discard and my water, and we are just stirring it all up again, trying to not be an over mixing mama. You can let me know your best biscuit making tips in the comments down below too, but I just dump it on out and then mix it a little bit with my hands, fold it over a few times, and then start cutting my biscuits. Maybe I should have worked the dough a little more, but these biscuits are looking nice and thick to me, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get some big biscuits here. I'm going to get another pan going and get another batch worked up. We're just all committed in this biscuit making process. So many of my folks coming through from playing and being outside in the sunshine on this afternoon wanted to make biscuits with me too. So I am going to have another big biscuit making day. I do end up with some kitchen helpers here, which I definitely do not mind kitchen helpers for sure. And we do have times we all cook together. I've even had days where I think of maybe, well, our recent big batch spaghetti, I had one of my low spoon days where that just means, spoon theory. I could not move that much that day. I think I used that day's spoons the day before. And so I just gave one of my people, I was like, okay, here's how you do big batch spaghetti sauce. And I laid on the couch. I told them about browning the meat, sauteing the vegetables, getting the tomatoes open. They did a big, I think a 16-quart pot of spaghetti sauce, and we ate it. This was actually, I have to think back in time, maybe 6 weeks ago, because we had big batch spaghetti. Then a few days later, we froze the sauce that was left. And just recently, we defrosted that sauce, heated it through again, and we've had another 2 days of spaghetti that we just finished up. And it was from their big batch spaghetti sauce that they made when their mama couldn't move. See how all those things work together? Okay, so far we have ×6 this recipe, and we have gotten almost 3 dozen. I'm going to get another batch going. And us continuing our batches, because, I wanted to do 10 dozen, 12 dozen, but I also want to do giant biscuits and adapt. So let's see, can I have it all? But anyway, we will continue on as long as you see some of our sourdoughs. Very excited. I was able to get those lids off with one of my helpers, but just going to see how much discard. The discard will tell us how many batches we get. Okay, so for extra fun, friends, I just realized on my last batch, I totally forgot to put in that 3 tablespoons of honey. So we'll see how that goes. So this pan and half of this pan, honey, yeah, it's all in the wash now. We'll see how it all works out. And I definitely have everything I need to keep making homemade biscuits, and I'm really good on time. So we're just gonna keep doing these big batches with sourdough discard, and then I'm just gonna apply some of these same principles to some of my biscuit recipes from largefamilytable.com, and we'll just keep on going with our big batches, but traditional from scratch biscuits, not also sourdough
and that is good. But we're not out of our sourdough yet. But as long as we're doing it, we're doing it.
And that's what I love. I love getting so many products out of the effort of feeding my starter and even discarding. I love being able to do projects with the discard.
Now for extra fun, I don't have my butter grated down yet. I would have waited on combining all my other ingredients. Okay, well we're just testing a variety of different flops, right?
So what is that math, friends? I did 3 batches. Each batch was for a dozen. So I did 3 times 3 batches. I did 9 batches total, and I got 4 dozen, plus we got our extra 3 there, and then we got these 2 little scrap biscuits, but about 4 dozen super duper massive, mega mama massive, big batch style, doing a times 9 batch. Got all that? It all makes sense to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these going in the ovens now because I have enough for both ovens and we gotta get this show on the road. And then I have 3/4 of one discard and a whole, I mean, this is just having like a love fest here once it got its lid off. It's freedom, it's freedom. Okay, so we're gonna keep going with the discard biscuits, and I liked the idea. I feel like I heard you all say it to me from the depths of the internet. You don't need discard, Jamerrill. And see, I'm putting those on 400. We'll adjust the temperature here in a minute. I felt like I heard y'all saying, just make regular from scratch biscuits. So again, once we get our sourdough discard biscuit factory complete, wrapped up, towards its end, we will switch over and just continue on doing regular old all-purpose flour from scratch biscuits.
So what I'm gonna do here is, again, I know we already solved a sad situation when I tried to use my full-size sheet pan with my sheet pan eggs and it just was not gonna sit right. But one of my good friends, I was talking to her about it and she told me, well, next time I can just take one of my sheet pans like this and invert it, put the other sheet pan on top. That actually should work, because then this lip part, I'll point with my nose, would go under that little lip in the back. Anyway, we'll test that out in some other video, but I can still bake on these just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these in the oven and then we'll start filling that giant one.
And we're just gonna load our pans in there and get these long-awaited sourdough discard biscuits a-going. Again, I will link Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone. I will link her recipe down in the description below. I'm also going to make one of my recipes from largefamilytable.com, just an easy, frugal, from scratch biscuit. Of course, we're gonna cut them bigger and make them super mega size in this cooking project, but that recipe will be linked down below as well from largefamilytable.com. And here I am trying to just get the last bit of my sourdough starter pulled together here, sourdough discard, so we can see how many more batches of these biscuits we can get cooked up. And this discard is super thick and active. It has just been waiting to serve its purpose in life.
So we've got these 4 pans in the ovens going, and that was at 400 for 14 to 20 minutes, she said. So I set my timer for 15, and then we're doing our big baking sheet with the first 3.
And I do like this little trick to just fill my flour cup with a spoon instead of just dipping it on in and pressing down my flour. Now at this point, I do have my 10-year-old in the kitchen with me. He was hanging out in there talking to me and watching me make biscuits. He also was having an afternoon snack and working on a little crafting project, going in and out. And so he just was totally amazed with how I was doing that butter. And so I had him watch me do it, and I was telling him how, now look, we don't want to grate our hand with this either. So he wanted a turn though grating the butter, and so I had him opening up the butter sticks for me to grate this time. And I told him he could then open up another 6 sticks of butter and he could do it on the next batch. So he was really excited. He was taking notes. He was also working on being my project manager at this point, which was really cute. And I didn't forget honey in these batches. And it's just delicious with or without honey, but the addition of honey is also very, very nice.
Alrighty, so I had set my timer for 15 minutes. Just checked them. I just switched my pans. Put the top racks on the lower racks on the top. I do have a nice elementary helper in here with me, and he got me the 6 sticks of butter that I grated for this batch, and he is now using the grater to grate 6 more sticks for the next batch. And I'm happy to report our Mega Mama Massive biscuits are just that. They are looking massive and huge. Like, I don't know if there's a monster biscuit at Hardee's, but it sounds like something that they would have. They are all of that. So maybe this time, again, that's what I wanted. But I do like to test different things. And we have, I almost said 48 dozen, but we have 4 dozen. We have 48 of the Mammoth biscuits coming. Maybe I'll use my next size down biscuit cutter for this. I don't know. We have the afternoon and we're experimenting here.
So we'll see which way I decide to go. I think I might try just the next size down biscuit cutter to see how these turn out. See if I can get maybe some more biscuits. I mean, it's the same volume, but I just want to see. So let's give it a go.
Okay, here's how they're looking.
And I have my trusty kitchen assistant grating our next 6 sticks of butter on the other side of the island there. So helping Mama wins over the 60-degree sunshine on this afternoon, although they'd already been outside for quite a bit. But I do like to get some kitchen help when I can. And so we are filling up that big full-size baking sheet as well.
Not me. With one of those biscuits in my mouth. Oh my goodness, they're delicious. Is it amazing?
This is the best biscuit I've ever had.
It is amazing, yeah.
It's nice and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh from the
Fresh,
oven.
hot. How could we not? So anyway, I'll show you how our other biscuits are working out. They look like they're flaky and they're thick, but they kind of spread out almost like a square, not round. So that means we will have, which I don't know why they did that, but it's delicious. There's no problems with that. And I'm trying to not overwork my dough, which I am also good at, so. And I know some people cut their biscuits in squares or purposely have them in squares. I just think we're ending up with at least 48 square biscuits.
And so I don't consider that a fail. My whole goal is to make homemade sourdough discard biscuits for breakfast freezer meal sandwiches for my household of 10. I'll take them in any shape. I just was expecting thick circles, and instead I have thick and wide squares. It's good. It's good. And there's no complaints. And we can fit full sausage patties on them. I cannot wait for you to see them. Then they turn out absolutely delicious. They are all the rage. It was definitely a big success on so many levels, and I love getting this full baking sheet full of biscuits too. And me and my kitchen assistant there are having a great biscuit discussion.
Okay, so I have someone who's never had a biscuit, a warm biscuit with a little bit of honey, and I'm the mom, so let's fix that. Also, probably gonna go ahead, well, we'll be putting this big batch in the oven in a minute. All right, so Jamerrill, pleased to show you how big these biscuits turned out. I mean, delicious. We got flaky layers. I'm going to partake in taste test sampling. Okay, it's for research purposes. We're gonna do some honey on these, okay? break and enjoying that biscuit. Let's see here. Oh, still need a few more minutes. Okay. Delicious. Okay, well, I could go ahead and put this in on the lower rack. Alrighty, so we are gonna keep on trucking, even though we got slightly distracted eating some good sourdough. And I didn't set my timer. I'm just eyeballing. Okay. Probably good to get these other ones out. I'm gonna move up my full-size sheet up a notch. I guess I will turn this side off a few minutes while some other batch is going. And I mean, again, these are just giant. Now, I was going for tall. Well, I mean, they are tall. It's just they're just so big. Perspective is hard. There's my precious little hand. There's our giant biscuit. And folks are eating them already. It's hot off the press. So we want to keep this trainer rolling. I keep walking away as I'm talking to you. I'm going to need to use some of these pans. So probably going to move some biscuits real quick with some parchment paper. Go. Doing this without my little mitts. Okay, and really I don't even need, I can just slide, as long as things work together, I can slide the parchment paper onto my stove. And hot, but stay there for a minute. Get some more parchment paper on my other pans. Alrighty, so we're making room for all the biscuits. Got pulled in a few mama directions, but we're back to doing it. I'm like, I just have to get back into my flow. First up, let's check our sourdough discard amount. I think this might be the last batch. Here we go, of the discard. And this is the discard that was like so super active and alive and happy and bubbling. It was just waiting for its chance in life. Okay, and I mean, this would have been great to reactivate as an active starter. Okay, that's super, well, I've got more in there I can keep pulling from. Okay, I should have a little bit in these jars. And if I need to, I'll take a little bit from my inactive, active starter that's over there that we hadn't fed yet. I think, let's see. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Because I can take a tablespoon if I have to. And that does have the hooch on it. Just let's mix it up a little bit. And so far, I mean, the biscuits that we have, I love the sourdough taste, but they don't have it. They are super, super buttery, which is not a problem. I'm just gonna put this jar back like this So my brain later will see that and say, oh yeah, I've got to finish doing that. Let me get my cup and half of water. Back to our flour. Hold on here, that's me checking in on this big batch. Looking beautiful. Let's see, I just set the timer for 5 minutes. I'll see if I can get this next batch worked up before that beeps again. Six. Okay. And I'm gonna put the rest of my dry ingredients in here, and then my happy little elementary kitchen helper has 6 sticks, 24 ounces of butter, grated for us and waiting in the refrigerator, and it has had about an hour in the refrigerator now in real time, so that should be nice and cold. But it is 65 degrees outside in Virginia, so I do not have anyone in this kitchen right now. That was just a later lunch break. Hey mom, what you doing? Oh gee, can I help visit? Get some more baking powder. Then we're gonna put our, butter in, and then our honey. Don't forget that. I did toss just a little on the floor. Okay. It was cute. He was in here and I was counting flour cups. And I said, hey, help me remember. I'm counting out loud, but I forget my cups. 1, 4, 5, and he said, okay, I'll be your project manager. And I was like, ah, that's what I need. I need a project manager. Just made me laugh. And I was like, well, you can say your career started here counting your mama's cups of flour, right? Okay. In our starter, well, our discard. Water. Now we'll get to stirring.
I'm super happy how our afternoon is just being filled with good homemade biscuits. And it's all working out, and time is going well, and the biscuits are baking up very well, and I'm already having people come through to grab samples again for research purposes. So it's a good afternoon in the kitchen.
Well, we did accomplish our goal of having that mixed up before the timer went off. Those smell heavenly. I turned the oven off. I am going to let them sit there though while I cut these off. They don't look overcooked, thankfully. I have one batch that's a little browner on the top, but that's okay because we're also doing gravy. I want to set a goal here. So I'm done with my discard. We've made, I mean, batch-wise, it's been, if I would have cut my biscuits smaller, it would have been many more dozen, but we've got probably 2.5 dozen there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're probably coming somewhere between 7 and 8 dozen with these big batch, thick and flaky sourdough discard biscuits. So, well, I'm gonna have to sit for a minute and do some biscuit math with my large family table from scratch biscuits. And then we will mix up a couple, I don't know how many dozen, a couple batches. Get these in the oven and then we'll look at that. What I think would be really nice is if I had a little bowl of flour sitting here and I would set my biscuit cutter in that. Doesn't that sound like a thing? It's probably what people do. I can see that being helpful.
But that's okay. We are making the best of it, just how we always do. I just have some flour on the counter there for my biscuit cutter to sit in. But you expert bakers and longtime biscuit makers, let me know your best tips for my biscuit cutter. Just keeping it cutting well in the comments below too. So we are filling up 2 other sheet pans. And we're getting ready to switch to another recipe. I'm just going to do a quick little tidy here. Alrighty, so whoop. Okay, well the edges of those got a little hot.
Alrighty, so these are boiling hot, boiling hot. Definitely like a square biscuit. Sorry, the light is really shining off of that. But delicious, very buttery, yummy, no problems. No problems here. We're not complaining. We'll take one for the team. Here's one breaking into it.
So yes, I'm definitely not mad about my research purpose sourdough discard biscuit afternoon sampling window. This is yummy.
Alrighty, so my recipe over on largefamilytable.com makes about 2 dozen, and I usually, in the past, I've just used like canning rings or the bottom of a glass. But again, I was reading / learning / watching that something like a biscuit cutter allows it to expand more and you're not pinching the sides. So on my recipe, and I'll link it down below, I use 6 cups of flour. Again, this is for 2 dozen. So let's make up a batch of this while my voice is getting tired and the afternoon is continuing. I have a live event with my private paid membership. Hold on here, won't go into full clean mode. Live event with my private paid membership community in about an hour and a half. They don't know it yet. It's gonna be a live cooking pop-up. I do those too, and that's fun. And so, we still got quite a bit to do here though. I got the biscuits going. Need to do a lot of sausage gravy. Need to assemble a lot of sandwiches. So, I best keep them moving. But I did sit for a minute. I did look at my recipe again. I'll link it down below. Not sourdough, just from scratch biscuits. So, gonna look at that. Okay, 6 cups. Let's get our flour in here. 6 cups again. Project managers, we're now at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and then baking powder. Tablespoons of baking powder, and then 2 teaspoons of salt, then 3 cups of milk, third of a cup of butter, and I don't have any milk up here, and I don't have anybody quickly who I can say, oh, hey, there, go grab your mama some another gallon of milk. So I know we have some downstairs. That's okay. So I have questions for myself now, but I'm following my recipe that I have up over, and we got tired mom afternoon right now. So I just had a kid come in to get another biscuit. They're calling them butter biscuits, and he's like, I'm coming back for more, as he leaves with one in his hand. So hopefully we have some left. We do have, ooh, let's get it soft. Better move that out of my way there. So the liquid we're adding in just seems so wrong after all those cups of starter. But we've got 3 cups, again, 3 cups of milk. Oops, I'm gonna do 3 cups of water. And yes, I could have just had that biscuit eater run down now and get me a milk, but I've already got it straight in my head. We're doing it another way. I don't know why I stuck my hand in here, but I just did, so we're going with it, right? Okay. We'll wipe everything down when we're done. I've confused myself. I do have other pans with parchment paper. They're in the oven, and here I am. It's an adventure, right? I mean, at this point, I'm basically doing drop biscuits, right? Okay. I just don't want to mess with my dough so much. Flour everywhere.
And now we're cutting into these simple and frugal biscuits and getting them on another sheet pan. And they bake up delicious and delightful as well. In the past, I have baked up dozens and dozens and dozens of biscuits for the freezer, and it's just been a bit. So I'm glad to get this done today.
So what I'm doing different is, a lot of times I roll my biscuits out. Sometimes I know the last time in particular, I just felt like they were so small. And so this time, after I watched some more biscuit making videos to refresh my brain, so many of those, they just weren't really rolling. They were just spreading it out and patting and cutting them with a biscuit cutter and going from there. So that's my experiment today. So like my 3 dozen recipe, I got a dozen out of now. Gotta go check some biscuits in the oven. I don't have enough for a full pan, but we'll just do, well, there we go. We'll end the parchment paper. We'll end the giant, massive biscuit making party with these last couple scrap biscuits. And next up, I think we will start the sausage gravy, big boats of sausage gravy making party. And then we will assemble more of these breakfast sandwiches for the freezer. And again, I am feeding over 6 foot tall, 21, almost 16, 14 12-year-old men. I'm feeding 3 adult women and a 12-year-old daughter who's pushing 5'8" now, and then 3 little guys that you just never know. I think my 7 and my 10-year-old have had 2 giant butter sourdough. They're called butter biscuits. They're not even hearing the word sourdough. They've had 2 giant of these outside in the sunshine. One came in for some yogurt. They took out a 000 yogurt, saw the biscuits. They're like, oh, those smell good. A few minutes later, came back in. I think I need one of those. And it hasn't stopped. So, I mean, that's what every mama wants, right? Everybody love what you're cooking.
And that's why I know so many times when I have gotten freezer biscuits in the freezer and even pre-made sausage gravy in the freezer, you know, it might end up, if I have 4 dozen biscuits and 3-gallon bags of sausage gravy in my large household, I mean, even, you know, gluten-free folks and different dietary needs and all that, it still ends up being that amount alone is probably about 4 to 6 breakfast, and it is so good to have those prepped and ready to go. Now that's the kind of breakfast prep. They'll eat that for breakfast. They might eat it. I don't know that someone would eat that breakfast, lunch, and dinner one day in a row, but over about a 72-hour period, definitely someone could have it for breakfast, have it lunch the next day, have it for dinner the following day, along with other food items. Just biscuit and gravy is a classic favorite around here. And it's also something that I don't make very often. I will make it big batch ahead like this, but I don't standard in our recent years' life just have a day where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make biscuits and gravy for breakfast on this day. If I make a meal, I want to get many meals out of it because the same dishes are dirty. It takes a little more time, but why get 1 breakfast when I could get 6 breakfast or a dozen breakfast or even 2 months worth of breakfast done? I'd rather do 3 afternoons and big batch freezer cook and meal prep for many, many weeks and possibly months to come than just cooking a different breakfast every day. Just depends on the season of life, but I like it. And you know from my many years of large family meals of the week videos here on YouTube that I will certainly throw down, 2 dozen eggs and a bunch of bacon and fruit for a breakfast. But when I can get in a good freezer meal rhythm, it allows me to still have the days where we do scrambled eggs and fruit, but then 3 mornings that week, if we need some freezer French toast or breakfast burritos or breakfast sandwiches, anything from the freezer to help make our mornings easier, we all appreciate that all the way around.
Alrighty, so we got the kitchen tidied up in under 10 minutes. I still need to wipe down a few places where my flour hands hit. So that was pretty good though. Move these up. Okay, we will give those, oh, and I have this pan to put in. Okay, timer again. Call it 7 minutes. Several of you have said I should put my flour in a separate container. I'm sure I should. The reason I haven't is many times those red King Arthur bags, we just roll through those so often, but I don't know. I can try new things. Let's give it a try. Why not? A little. This is from one of my teen cooks. They have something they like to make and they get into the flour for a sauce, which is wonderful. So probably let me jump across my counter here. Okay, get another bag in and we'll just see. I mean, no reason why it wouldn't work, for my brain. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to get to the point where I'm able to try something. So now my brain's like, today's the day. Today's the day you're pouring flour in a container. Nice, okay. we'll test that little measuring cup in there. We found it a home. And I'm gonna go around and wipe up a few more areas. I just put my wet towels in the sink and then deliver them to the laundry room. I will have one of my folks do the dishes this afternoon, and then I will have someone sweep the room. So we all work together. Alright, so I'm going to start moving some biscuits around now so we can start working on the gravy. I just had my 14-year-old come through, grab a big biscuit. He's like, oh my goodness, these are amazing, so that's wonderful. I feel like they don't look as amazing as they taste. Okay, that's my biscuit therapy. Let's see, I guess I will move these this way. These out of the way a bit. And then for the sausage gravy, it is just a matter of getting the sausage cooking. Then we will, ouch, we will not ram our fingers. Sausage cooking, flour, milk, salt, pepper, whisking. I will need some milk brought upstairs for that one, so. Run some water in that sink for a minute. I will send a message for milk. Alrighty, I do need some cups though, measuring cups. Okay, so I'm gonna go live with my membership in about an hour. I'm gonna try to make so many boats of gravy between here and there. We've got, yes, those biscuits are out. I'm gonna leave this last 6 in the oven with it turned on right now. That is good. Okay, and I'll bring over our new boat tub of flour. Okay, hopeful, life changes. And I will need a knife to stab the sausage. Very good, very good. Okay, so these are just 1 pound Jimmy Jean or Jimmy Dean sausage rolls. And word has gotten out that Mama's making sausage gravy. Everybody is so excited. So I was looking at my pans here. I'm just gonna go back and forth between both of these 17-inch cast iron skillets that I have loved these last many years that I've had them. I think I got them 2021-ish. Don't think I had them in my baby kitchen. I think I got them for this new kitchen. Not sure though. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's how it all worked out. Just meaning they've gotten several years of a large family workout, and I appreciate them. So I don't know if I'm gonna try to do 2 pans of gravy at one time. Maybe that's what I should do. What I was saying to you all is that I was looking at 2 pans worth of gravy being 48 to 72 hours of gravy for my household of 10 here. It'll be super delicious for dinner, and then it's not, of course, it's not the only food here, but it's just going to be something that's meal prepped in the refrigerator ready to go. And many folks are gonna make their own individual life choices to have it. So I do think I'm gonna try to juggle 2 pans at one time. The only hazard with that is when it gets to like heavy stirring time, but I've done it before, we can do it again. So I don't try to do more than 2 pounds of sausage per batch. Obviously these pans, I mean, I've cooked 10 to 15 pounds of ground meat in these pans, no problem. Just for the sausage, 2 pounds for this 17-inch pan, the volume is perfect. In addition to adding in the milk and the flour, salt and pepper, and whisk and whisk and whisk. Okay. And I do have kids now in this afternoon. It's 4:30, and there's some fort/Lego/making armor out of foil happening. All right, I'm gonna save that knife. I will need that again. And I do really like using my meat masher for this. But anyway, I'd like to get through a couple batches. Again, we got my 48 to 72 hours worth going here, but then I want to get additional 48 to 72 hours worth in the freezer.
It's just we're making gravy, so we're making gravy. And this meat chopper is going to town in both pans here. And again, I don't always juggle 2 big pans of gravy going at one time. Well, we will see how I handle it today. That's all we can do. But I do really love these 17-inch Lodge cast iron pans. They have been super good to me these last several years that I've been using them. Okay, this pan still has a little pink left. This pan is almost done. I've had just a little pink before I jumped over here to this one. My meat masher is another wonderful tool I learned about on the internet maybe 8 years ago or so. And I've been through a couple, but I just really like them. I used to think, oh no, I'll just use my spatula. My spatula is my meat masher, but it really did up the game for me in all my massive meat processing. Okay, and the biscuit stacks are doing well all around. Dirty dishes there. And these are my non-sourdough giant batch. We got a few more sitting in there. Turn the heat down just a little bit. I was cooking assertively. With one mom can juggle 2 pans. Okay, I'm gonna let that one just light it for a minute and get going with my milk. This is where I've got to find my other 4-cup measuring cup. There's a fish aquarium. Fish aquarium and some other adventures happening. And I think somehow that's where my masher, no, hopefully not my masher, my 4-cup measuring cup has gone to, in getting rocks out and holding fish while the tank's being clean. I really think that's part of it. Okay, I'll get my salt out. We'll see. I inquired this morning. So, inquiring minds want to know. I'm tempting lots of things there by using the big spout. If I remember correctly, it ends up being about 9 cups of milk for one of these big panfuls and a cup of flour. Pay attention to this pan for a minute. And I'm spilling a little bit here and there, but that's okay. It's all going to work out. If only I really could whisk that fast. But I usually start out with a little bit of flour and a little bit of milk and get the gravy going, and then add the additional flour and milk from there. I also try to dump in some Redmond salt and some pepper as I'm able. And I just keep pouring the milk in and keep thickening it up.
We'll start on this next pan here. I think in the past, maybe like years back, maybe I used to remove my sausage and then just with the little bits and grease in the pan, then add my flour and milk and then add my sausage back in. Might be a thing, but this is just how I've slowly adapted to doing it. I just do it with the sausage all in there. I don't know if that's a full memory or not. I seem to have that in my brain somewhere, but oh well, this is how I do it now.
And that's okay. It all turns out to be absolutely amazing gravy. And I have so many of my folks who want to make sausage gravy with me. And so I told them that we're definitely going to have another sausage gravy making day in the near future. And Mama will give gravy making lessons on this day. Others, I had different people at different times in the kitchen who could help or grate butter or get those sheet pans ready for me. But they also had other tasks and other adventures and other activities on this particular day. So it's hard to line up my cooking projects with everybody else's life. But as I say, they are definitely learning to cook, learning to do things, learning how to handle a gas stove and ovens and all the different fun adventures in the kitchen. Okay, so this is nice and thick, and I could push it a little bit and add some more flour and milk to that. And we have this one. Still hadn't come back up to temperature. I had turned it down once I got juggling that pan. I would like to get some different gravies in the freezer too. Beef gravy and even some chicken gravy that's still delicious over biscuits, meaning using maybe some canned chicken. That would be good. Of course, just having gravy on hand for mashed potatoes, doing those kind of gravies too is super, but we will see what 2025 holds for us. I am inspired to get back to my big batch cooking roots and again, get our freezers full for all of the known and unknown adventures. And we love the giant biscuits that are sitting on the stoves waiting for us. Okay, now we got some bubbles coming on this one. Okay, I'm going to actually start with this one because I have it boiling. I have someone else in here making some afternoon tuna salad now. We got lots of things happening. Turn that down a little bit before it gets too excited, and we're through 1 gallon of milk. We're on to the next. And so now this is me stretching the recipe a bit. I'm off the rails now. Off the rails. Like I say, per my recipe on largefarmtable.com. I wonder how much we tempt fate if we leave that lid off. Anyway, per that recipe, it ends up being about 1 cup of flour and 9 cups of milk. Now, whenever I wrote that recipe up, that was at the florist house, and I did not have these size pans yet. So, just put in about another 3/4 of a cup. 2 more cups of water. Was quite a bit of flour there. And we'll see how it all incorporates here. Keeping track of my time because I got that live event coming up too. I think I will do 1 more cup of flour. Nope, milk. Milk is what I'm trying to say. We'll call it quits. I did get a little spirited with the salt in this one too, I noticed.
might be able to do another cup of milk. I mean, it only makes more gravy, right? And we're all about volume. And one of my people make an afternoon tuna salad is one of my gluten-free folks who will not be able to partake in this. But they have other tricks up their sleeve. Like I say, we will be getting to our more gluten-free baking in the future. They do a lot of gluten-free box baking for right now. You know, when you can get the Crusties and the different Annie's. I think Annie's have Bob's Red Mill. There's a couple different brands that we get those baking kits, and they enjoy that. So we need to level up that ability, starting with Mom. Okay, there's those two big pans. Okay, because I need these pans and I need to keep on working, but I also need a boat to hold our gravy. I wonder if, okay, I'm thinking about my volumes. I might actually be able to use a smaller Dutch oven to hold that. I don't know, we're gonna test it out. I can't do any more cooking math right now, but let me try one of my smaller Dutch ovens here. Not sure, we'll see. Okay, this is 3/4 of the way full. Okay, I just got water running in that because I need to cook sausage again. I try to not always have to wash the pan, but then again in that situation, I don't know. Would you wash your gravy out before cooking sausage again? Okay, we're almost full. We might actually barely make it. I got another bowl just in case I needed to put some of tonight's. You know, they could dip from that first, but I think we'll do it. Jamerrill's balancing cooking adventures that should not be happening, but okay, we did it. Nice. We used 1.5 gallons of milk. Like I say, this is my 48-hour gravy vat for how many? I don't know. I mean, at least 7 to 8 will be eating it. And this will be tonight's gravy vat. And now I want to make just as much again for the freezer. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a 5th and 6th batch done just timing wise. Okay, so there's no time. There's no time. Mama ain't washing no gravy out of pans. That's what kind of time we got right now. So that's just gonna be that. We'll just test it, right? We're testing the things. We're just testing to see how it goes. Now, I had a knife. That there for right now. Not really wanting a fire. Haha. I just watch where I put my raw meat packaging, right?
So we are going at it again. I am taking a chance not washing those pans just because of the gravy that's stuck on the sides that's already in there, just it burning. But I also didn't have it in my soul to fully scrub cast iron out. I thought, oh, just let me get away with it. And then I promise we will scrub and coat with oil and do everything appropriately. But yeah, I can make 2 more huge pans of gravy, but I can't also wash the pans and make 2 more huge pans of gravy. 4 huge pans total. I can either do 2 pans and clean it or 4 pans and clean it later. So let's see if I make it through this time. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we're going to make it. I have the ground sausage cooking in one pan, and now I am making up the sausage in this pan, adding in my cups of milk and a little bit of flour here and there and continuing to whisk it. I turned my heat down on my second pan because that sausage was just about done, and I'm trying to get the sausage gravy going in this pan, giving it some good stirs. And now I'm adding the flour and the milk to my second pan, and I'm going to go back and forth. And we're doing it. We are doing our 3rd and 4th big pans of gravy. My plan, again, is to leave the equivalent of 2 pans out for my household to enjoy our 48 to 72 hour gravy fest, and then to get the equivalent of 2 more big pans in the freezer for I don't know when, but we're sure going to need it in the future. We will be glad to have biscuits and gravy prepped and ready to go. I've done these big batch breakfast cups before too that have egg and little hash browns and gravy in them. We'll have to do those in an upcoming big batch cooking day too. So here I am. I'm hosting my live event with my large family table community membership. And for them, I am assembling many of the breakfast freezer meal sandwiches live. I'm also giving them a live update of my past several days big batch freezer cooking and sharing with them about the sheet pan eggs and the sausages and my adventures. I'm showing them how nice and thick the biscuits have turned out. You can see I also have several gallon bags of our bags that we had originally frozen the biscuits in, and we will use those, reuse those again in the freezer for these breakfast sandwich freezer meals. And so I'm trying to assemble a whole large sheet pan of these breakfast freezer meal sandwiches for my membership. I'm also answering their questions and chatting with them and letting them know about spilling milk and making my biscuits giant and all of that fun. And so we go live for about 35 minutes or so. I'll do that with my membership. I'll have live cooking pop-ups, also live chatty Q&As. I'll also do other exclusive videos. Sometimes it's extra big shopping. Sometimes it's a day in the life. Other times it's big batch cooking recipes. I'll have special guests that come into our membership that will have special videos on different topics. We have everything from chicken keeping to beginning canning to long-term food storage and so much. My membership I've had it's been over 5 years now. And I have many original members that joined in January 2020. And boy, we didn't know what was about to happen in the world. I'm also enjoying having little samples of these biscuits as it continues, little pieces that break off. I'm like, thank you. That's my mom tax for all this sourdough biscuit making. I'm also making breakfast sandwiches with the traditional frugal from scratch biscuits that we made with our largefamilytable.com big batch recipe. And I just did, the giant biscuit version. And so I'm putting on what is left of the sheet pan eggs and putting on the single sausage slices. Now, when we run out of sheet pan eggs, these become sausage biscuits, and I don't think we'll have any complaints about that either. And so I'm just filling pan after pan after pan. And then I'm going to work on getting my thumbnail for this YouTube video, which is also part of my process, something I got to consider and take time to do. And so I put those sausage patties out, put the little tops on them, get all of those onto another sheet pan, and we will go through individually wrapping those as well. Now, the top of these biscuits did get a little dark, but believe me, there's nothing wrong with them. No one complains about them, and I'm still able to cut through the biscuits just fine and get our sausage patties in there. Oh, wow. What will it be? 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? How long will we be defrosting and reheating these big batch sandwiches? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I got a lot of folks I feed, and Mama needs all the help she can get. And this is a style of cooking I have been continuing to develop well over the past 2 decades. And it has worked out well for me.
I was going to town making breakfast freezer sandwiches, and I just remembered, wait a minute, I do need to set out a few dozen for my folks to have, like biscuits and gravy tonight. So I'm gonna stop now. I've been saving like little pieces that have fallen out. They're super buttery and crumbly, but in all the right ways. Like, they're delicious. So again, these are my from scratch biscuits from largelytable.com that I also just gave a try in these giant size. There's some random little bits of cheese I'm trying to hold on to. These are some more of the sourdough ones, but I mean, they're just so good. They're so very good. Anyway, so we'll have 2 dozen and then these as well. And so I probably should have set out another dozen, but I'm just gonna go with it, and I'll just make them. I will set the whole tray out tonight with dinner. But again, these are so big. I mean, well, I was gonna say, maybe teenage guys still might do 2, but anyway, 1 with some gravy to start, and I'll need to get some strawberries out too, and some other fruit to add with it. Okay, well, from the future, I can report good intentions. That whole big tray of biscuits we just piled up, it was gone within 24 hours. I was thinking that was 48 hours of biscuits. Nope. That was 24 hours of biscuits. They just ripped through those. They were so delicious. Like I shared, they called them butter biscuits. And I make them a nice little setup for dinner for that evening, and they loved it. So right here, we are getting to the end of this big batch cooking time, and I'm just doing some tidying up, wiping down the counter, chugging down some of that Waterloo pretend soda, not really soda, natural sparkling water that I like, wiping things down that I can. We're going to go ahead and keep pushing through and get all of these sandwiches wrapped on this night and get things in the freezer. And I'm also going to serve a big biscuit, gravy, and fruit dinner. And so here I am doing, again, the behind the scenes full-time YouTuber business of stacking up my food and working to get my thumbnail to make the video look interesting enough in the picture that you all will want to watch all this cooking with me. So here I am stacking all my pans and getting ready for that. So we did it, good friends. We did a good 200 breakfast freezer meal sandwiches, also several dozen biscuits that my household tore through within 24 hours. And also we ended up, I show you here that big pan of gravy. We also have the other pot full of gravy now. So in the end, I end up with a 4-gallon bags full of sausage gravy for the freezer. I also end up with around 200 big batch breakfast freezer meal sandwiches that are made from homemade sourdough discard bagels, also from homemade sourdough discard biscuits, and homemade sourdough English muffins, plus about 6 bags of Walmart bagels. No shame in my great value game, because I definitely use great value to fill in my gaps. And so in real time, since everyone went through those giant biscuits so quickly, my goal was to also get a couple dozen batches of just biscuits,
freezer biscuits in the freezer. We did not get that accomplished because I made them all into ready to go breakfast homemade from scratch sandwiches from the freezer. And then again, my household ripped through my giant platter of giant biscuits so quickly. We do have some gravy left, and so if I can't get back to making more homemade biscuits over the 72-hour gravy party, they can just do toast and gravy. That's a really nice option too. And so coming up on another big batch freezer cooking day, let's see if we can get 6 to 10 dozen freezer biscuits in the freezer as well. But at least we are stocked up on gravy and on a variety of big batch breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. And this is giving me a good leg up in filling my freezers in 2025, as I've shared, for current adventures and for adventures I don't even know yet to come. As a busy mama of a large household with a lot of life dynamics, from preschool up to young adulthood, working full-time from home, schooling from home, all of our adventures. You're in it with me, and we are doing these things. Thank you so much for watching. I will link all of the big batch freezer cooking recipes I used down below, and I look forward to doing many more massive freezer cooking adventures with you coming up real soon. I'll talk with you in those comments below, and I'll see you real soon with another brand new video. Bye bye.